Again with another video, and today we're doing episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. All right, guys, another great episode, and welcome back, Frank Castle, man. It was great seeing Jon Bernthal back as the Punisher. The man looks great. He looks awesome. He definitely always embodies a role, man. I gotta say, he is definitely my favorite on-screen Punisher for the past few years. I love Thomas Jane. Ray Stevenson was fine for what he did. I know Dolph Lundgren also did the character as well, but I gotta say, man, Jon Bernthal definitely understands and embodies Frank Castle. He has done a great job, and I know ever since season 2, when he first went out for the role, I think he went to a comic shop. They gave him a multitude of comics, and he was just like, hey, you got to read this, read this, read this. And I guess over the years, after doing 2 seasons of The Punisher, as well as appearing on Daredevil season 2, he definitely loves the character. I actually also found out that he almost walked away from the show. Actually, he did walk away from the show. I guess, you know, during the 18 episode thing that they had going on for Daredevil, Jon did not love the way it looked. He hated the way the character was portrayed. And after playing the character for so many years, he had an idea of exactly how Frank thinks, how Frank acts, what motivates him, what doesn't motivate him. And I guess when they brought him the original script for the show, definitely did not like it and walked away. And it seems that, you know, after Feige did his overhaul, this was the, lifeblood to help him come back. Not only that, but he did also find out he was able to co-write the new Marvel presentation that they're going to be doing, which is essentially a movie for Frank Castle, and he's also able to co-write it. He's also able to co-write a lot of the lines that you guys see in the next few episodes, as well as in this episode. So great seeing him back. Great seeing Marvel be smart enough to bring him back the right way. So we do pick up right after the death of Hector Ayala. As we know, he was shot by somebody sporting the Punisher logo, who, you know, more than likely was not Frank, as we were all pretty sure able to figure out that Punisher was not responsible for that death. However, we see that his effects are being gathered along with his mask, as well as his, amulet. And it is also really a sad scene because Matt is constantly asking some questions. And of course, the hospital does not know anything about shell casings or anything like that. He says if it wasn't with the body, doesn't know about it. And it gets even worse as Angela does appear, as she's gotten past all the security, and she wants to see her uncle, which Matt tells her immediately that she cannot do that. She just wants her to remember her uncle the way that he was. But she does not let up, as she realizes that, you know, Matt should be smart enough to realize the cops are responsible for Hector's death. And she talks about just how messed up the city is and how her uncle just tried to do the right thing. And even though he's trying to make a difference, he's just Hector and they're the cops. And she's really broken up about this. And Matt tries to comfort her and tell her that there will be justice in some kind of form. And it's just a sad scene as you realize Matt is kind of broken up by this. You know, him not being Daredevil is what put Hector in a position to be White Tiger, even though I'm sure he would have been White Tiger anyway, because the man said it was a calling. Sooner or later, this role was going to find him. It didn't really matter whether or not, you know, Matt was wearing the costume. I think Hector was always destined to be on this path. That's just how it was going to be. First scene with Muse in his actual costume. He seems to be carrying a body down through the subway lines. I'm not exactly sure who this body is or where it comes from, but the person is clearly still alive. But I gotta say, Muse looks really good in his comic book accurate costume. It looks really good. It looks really menacing. He looks really scary. And I'm pretty sure he's going to take that body and use it to create another piece of artwork. That I use that term loosely, but that does seem like that's where he is going. We'll cut to a nightclub. It's with BB and Daniel, and it seems that they're kind of partying, having some drinks. It seems that these two did have an established friendship, but as Daniel starts getting more drinks than him, he gets to talking about some plans that Fisk has, that he's moving on as mayor, that, you know, he is going to be destroying some things going on with the union in order to be more productive with the garbage situation around the city. And I could already tell from looking at BB's face that she's all doing this on purpose. She's trying to get Daniel as drunk as possible so that he gets to talking. Realize that she is a reporter, and every single time that Daniel opens his mouth, it's something that she can use against Fisk. This also lets you know where she stands at with Wilson Fisk. She does not fully trust him. We do know that Wilson is responsible for the death of Ben Urich, which I'm not sure if BB knows this or not. She more than likely may have put 2 and 2 together. If she's smart enough to do this, I mean, she's smart enough to understand what happened to her uncle all those years ago, and that Fisk may in fact be responsible. Now, we also get another therapy scene with the Fisk family, I was not exactly happy about this. It seems like this kind of always slows down the show for me. The reason that it keeps me engaged is because I've always liked Wilson Fisk in the show. Vincent D'Onofrio does a great job. I just hate when it kind of slows down to just this emotional family stuff. Sometimes the emotional stuff works in the show. Sometimes it doesn't. The reason that this scene didn't work for me is not for the reasons you think. I just kind of felt like this was more of like a victimized situation, as we see that Heather is asking, Vanessa questions about, Adam, which Wilson clearly doesn't want to talk about. But I guess when you're thinking about therapy, you got to get to the root of the problem in order to fix it. And, the way she talks about Adam, like he was everything, like I felt so bad for Wilson, realized that Vanessa cheated on him. And then when Heather asked Vanessa what she thinks about Adam, she's just like, his hands, Drew. I mean, you could literally see this woman creaming as she's talking about this dude. And Wilson, you can tell he's trying so hard not to lift up a left hand and backhand the shit out of her. I mean, realize that this chick cheated on him, not the other way around. I will say that Wilson Fisk is destructive with his decisions, which led him down the path it did. Doesn't change the fact that y'all were married and you stepping out on him was completely wrong. But it seems the two of them don't want to talk about Adam. You can tell they're kind of giving the business answer of that they have no idea what happened to him and that they conduct business. You see that they're just trying to get into these air quotes to get around Heather's certain questions, to not really put themselves in a position where they out themselves. And it's kind of messed up because at the end of the scene, we see also that Vanessa has some quote unquote daddy issues, which kind of propelled her into the position where she cheated on Wilson as her dad walked out. And with Wilson being gone, she kind of felt like she was abandoned, so she clung to somebody else. But we also see that Heather tries to create more of a victim scenario where she's asking Vanessa if she's safe in that situation. I was just kind of like, are you kidding me right now? I was like, but at the same time, I was thinking, man, Wilson must have killed Adam. I was just like, bro, the way that he ducks and dodges Adam, he does not want to talk about him. I was like, bro, either he knows where the body is or dude is not dead yet. Spoiler, he is not dead yet. And I picked up on this so fast, bro, especially with the bloody knuckles. I knew he was keeping this dude hostage, but we will get back to that. So we also find out after this scene that a gentleman by the name of Leroy has been arrested after stealing some fiddle faddle from a corner store. And, Matt is called in to represent him as a favor. And he does go in, and Leroy starts off as a bit of a dick. He acts like an asshole. He's calling out Matt being blind. So completely disrespectful. You have an attorney here that's representing you for free, dude. Shut up. Don't act like such a douchebag. I guess he wants probation. He doesn't want to go to jail. But Matt is telling him that this is not the first time you've been caught on this. I think he has like 11 different types of crimes that he's committed. And, he's just trying to get on probation, which that offer is not on the table. And Matt is constantly trying to tell him. Yet Leroy, being a complete dick, is not listening, and he keeps on pushing this. I like how Leroy, it was funny that he also mentions the scroll. He tries to say, well, could it be a scroll that did this, who set me up? Scrolls are still being acknowledged. I'm glad that Marvel is not skipping over this. This universe has been way too big for Marvel to be missing these certain points. And I'm glad that we're acknowledging that some of the scrolls are still running around on Earth. It's something that needs to be acknowledged. And Marvel has not done a great job with that, especially with the dead Celestial in the middle of the sea. We got Eternals a while ago. How long had it passed since we finally referenced that? Like 6 or 7 projects ago. So it's good to see that Marvel is finally acknowledging that. So Matt does manage to meet up with a woman who is also quote unquote Latvian. She's from the country of Latveria. That's right. It seems that Latvia is actually a cultural day that's going on around this time period. And that means Latveria is an actual place. Whether or not Dr. Doom is ruling it, we're not exactly sure of at this point in time. But it seems to be a very cultural day today. A lot is going on to really acknowledge it as a holiday. And Matt manages to get him off on 10 days in prison. That's about it. He doesn't get probation, but he will get 10 days. And I got to say, man, Matt gets all the girls, bro. He really knows how to get under women's skin just the right way to keep them so attracted. I was like, man, Matt is the man, bro. I mean, if you're trying to be more, you're trying to pick up the ladies, I think y'all should be watching the show, because dude is awesome with it. We do see Matt confront Powell. He finally gets a chance to talk to him after the death of Hector Ayala, as he believes that it's possible that he is responsible for his murder, as Matt knows that he is lying. And we see that Powell still denies this, and he even tries to show Matt his badge, which he tries to make fun of him because he's blind, but we know that Matt knows knows what's there. And he kind of talks about how he has a family lineage of cops. I think his grandfather, his father, his brother, his cousin or uncle and all that. And I'm just thinking, well, man, are they all scumbags like you too? I mean, damn, I mean, you're a terrible cop. You're really corrupt. I mean, that means that the rest of them must be just as screwed up as you are. But Matt does not say this. And even though he's listening to Powell's heartbeat, there is nothing that shows any kind of ill intent. So Powell is not lying. He doesn't have anything to do with Hector's death. That doesn't mean that he doesn't know who's responsible. He just says that he has no idea. As we see from the past few episodes, a couple different officers have that Punisher logo on them. Now, this cell could be more expansive during the police station, and maybe one may not know the other. That kind of thing where plausible not deniability, like if they get asked a question, they can just say, hey, I don't know who's responsible for that. You know, that kind of thing where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. That is kind of how they could be operating. I'm not exactly sure. We also see that now Wilson wants to have a control of Red Hook. I actually love this scene. He actually wants to do kind of like this overhaul on the docks and make it much more progressive, give more jobs, just kind of make it better. As he realizes it's more like a black eye of the community, of the city. He really wants to change that. And it's also pretty cool how he has this really nice, expensive plan. But Sheila kind of calls him out on it and tells him that there's a lot they have to do, a lot of red tape they have to bypass. This scene is so funny because as Fisk is trying to get certain things past her, like, okay, let's set up that meeting. And Sheila's like, no, we have to do this. So Fisk is like, okay, let's do that. And she's like, no, we have to do this first. And you can kind of see Wilson is struggling with the urge not to put his hands around her neck. Like, I was just like, man, my boy does not like red tape. He does not like the idea of being limited based off of somebody else's rules. He's very much used to, if he makes an idea, he's doing it, period, point blank. Nothing else to talk about. And we see he's struggling with this a lot. And he's just willing to follow whatever Sheila wants to do in order for him to take the next step to do what he's trying to do with Red Hook. But we also see this might serve a different purpose as Buck tells him that the criminal element in the city is actually getting much more reckless with the leaders of the different families and that they have to make certain moves quickly for Fisk to keep a dominant control over the city the way that he wants to. We see that Matt is talking to Leroy again, and we see as a douchebag, once again, he is not grateful for anything Matt has done as he has gotten him 10 days off. And we see Matt is getting frustrated as he's like, dude, you're not getting probation. You don't get to commit all these different crimes and then ask for probation again. And, you know, Leroy gets into this whole thing where he talks about the last time he was in jail for 30 days, he lost his food stamps. And you're kind of sympathetic with him as he talks about how he has to eat out of trash cans and that, yeah, he actually did admit to stealing the fiddle faddle because he wanted a dessert that's actually good. But I was lost at this moment where he's trying to make himself a victim in a system. But I did not feel that as, you know, you are sympathetic with the things he's going through. But dude, that was like multiple crimes ago. You don't get to commit multiple different crimes and then get benefits of the system when you're out there going against it. I was just really lost on what he was trying to convey. But Matt does feel somewhat bad for him in this situation, but I didn't feel that for Leroy. That BB did run that story with Daniel after everything that he was talking about at that party, which really puts Fisk in a bad place where they have to cancel the meeting they had set up. And I like the scene so much because, you know, we see that Sheila is kind of really, she kind of sees herself as outside of the situation. She understands what Daniel did was really screwed up, but she makes this comment where she says, I'll be here before you guys. She said, I was here before you and I'll be here long after you. To her, she really kind of seems like the selfish type of character that when the chips are down and she doesn't see it out, she will really throw the two of them under the bus if it serves her narrative. And I was like, bro, that's the kind of thing that's going to get you killed when it comes to the Kingpin. And it was really funny as Fisk has to sit there and listen to these kids sing. And it's almost like, you know, I'm not saying, you know, they're kids. They can't sing perfectly. They can only sing a song the best way they can. You know what I mean? And we see that Fisk is really struggling with the song. He's really struggling to listen to these kids. And I felt so bad for him at the same time. But at the same time, it's kind of bad where he's trying to really be a good mayor. But at the same time, he's struggling with the parts of himself that he's used to being. And we see that he is pissed when he finds out about the story being leaked. He is extremely pissed off at his team. We see he's going back into pure Kingpin mode. He's like, I will find who's responsible. And I got to say that, you know, shout out to Daniel. You know, he steps up and admits his fault. which I thought was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, there's a moment where he just kind of like goes in and accepts where he screwed up at. And I was kind of thinking he was really just kind of monologuing really on for a long period of time. And I was like, dude, why don't you just get down on your knees and, you know, put his joint in your mouth? Because the way you were just kind of like really diving in there, just make your point and be done with it. But it seems that Fisk does forgive him, which he gives him a lot of respect for stepping up and having the courage to admit his fault. But he does tell him if he ever screws up like that again, that'll be the last thing that he ever does. And you see the look between Sheila, looking between the two of them, like she's thinking to herself, I gotta get the fuck out of this situation. So we do cut back to Matt as he does go to the scene of the crime where Hector has died, and he does find the shell casing in a sewage drain, which he realizes there is kind of a hill. After knocking a bottle, he sees that the shell casing would have rolled down the hill, which I'm surprised that the cops were not smart enough to figure this out. He goes exactly where he needs to go to find Frank Castle. That's right, guys. It seems like he probably knew exactly where the Punisher was this entire time and just kind of left him be. We see that Matt is really coming to him to try to get on terms with him, trying to do the right thing and saying, hey, look, you know, you could be of service instead of just out here serving your own narrative. Well, if you look in the background, there is a board, which seems that Frank has been stocking up on ammunition, but also he has been tracking some type of targets. Knowing the Punisher, he more than likely does or does not know about the cops. Matt does bring this to his attention. He's not really that shocked about it. He says a bunch of fucking fanboys. He does not acknowledge it, nor does he take any kind of part in it. We know that Frank does not operate like that. He does not kill vigilantes like that. He really does respect them, even though he may not like them. You say, you came here looking for my permission if it was okay to get back out there. And Frank really does push Matt to that point of telling him, you know, what about Foggy? And as soon as he mentioned it, I was like, oh, dog, don't go there, yeah. And Matt does break, and he does end up punching Frank in the face. And Frank is just like, what the hell are you sorry for? You know what I mean? Like, I like how the two of them have this moment where Frank does not berate him, but he also calls Matt out about the fact that him walking away didn't do a damn thing for Foggy's death. And even though Bullseye got life, what did Foggy get out of that? And I like that. I like how Frank also talks about how he can still hear his son every single time he gets ready to go out there and enact that justice and that punishment, and that he can hear Foggy's voice as well, and that Matt needs to stop running from it and get back out there and do what he knows how to do. It's such a really cool scene between the two of them as they've become more of kindred spirits in this scene. You know, I remember from, you know, season 2 on the rooftop scene where he's like, you're just one bad day away from being me. But Frank does not throw that in his face. He just lets him know that he understands and that he needs to stop running from it and get back out there and do what he knows how to do as Daredevil. But Wilson does also admit that he may not be able to forgive Vanessa, as that is not something that his father really taught him how to do, as his father has taught him several different things: how to control the narrative, how to have dominant control over his situations, how to make people respect him, but he never really quite learned how to forgive anyone before his father died or before he killed him, which means that's why he has a hard time forgiving Vanessa for her infidelity. And I like that, you know, we see that after this scene, we see that both Matt and Wilson are both going to their respective places. We see that Matt goes back up to the rooftop to kind of start training again. We see that he has his hidden suits. We saw all the different types of suits that he has: the red one, the yellow one, the black suit. I wonder if he's just going to wear just the red suit and then eventually switch over to the other colors. We've seen the yellow suit during the events of She-Hulk. I wonder if we're going to get the black suit during the events of Born Again Season 2. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it would be pretty cool. But we see he takes out his billy club and he starts training. We see he's getting back into that point of learning how to move as Daredevil again, learning just to accept exactly who he is and what the city needs him to be. And to parallel that, we see Fisk, he kind of goes down into the basement. And I like the parallels of one going up to be the guardian of the city and one going back down to be the decaying part of the city. As Fisk goes down and he's having a dinner, we see the rabbit in a snowstorm portrait. It has the blood on it from season 3 when Matt and Fisk were fighting. And, you know, we see that he keeps that. He also has dinner down there. He has like a table set up with some food. And we see someone crying out, Fisk, and please, we're asking for merciful cries, as it is, in fact, Adam. That's right, guys. He has been keeping Adam under there and he has been torturing him. He has him like in this cell, and it's really messed up, man. You know, he's sitting there having dinner, torturing him, and we see Adam is begging for him to be let go. And I knew it, man. I knew that he had Adam in his grasp. I knew he either had to have killed him or he would be torturing him. And it seems that he does keep him down in the basement of that area, and that he is taking his time to enact revenge on him, especially since every time Vanessa talks to him or talks about him with such awe and type of admiration, it really kind of pushes him to want to torture Adam more. And it's also been kind of helping him not lose himself. As he keeps Adam, he's able to torture him without losing himself as mayor. You know, he's trying to keep up that image while at the same time trying to keep up that Kingpin-esque vibe that he has, that he knows how to enact. But it was an okay episode. I definitely will say that the emotional connection between both Frank Castle and Matt Murdock was awesome. Seeing Frank back, seeing him getting ready to get back out there, we see the struggles that he's having. So it's going to be even more great when he comes back in his actual Punisher outfit, and when Matt puts on the Daredevil persona. I can't wait to see these two team up. It's going to be really awesome seeing Frank trying to go out there and kill people. I know Matt's going to be trying to stop him as he's trying to kill people. It makes me wonder if Matt is going to be okay with Frank doing what he's doing, and Matt's just going to do it his way as well. I'm not exactly sure. I can't wait to see it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.